what's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm all right. You don't care to park in the back, right?
Nah, for you.
Parking lot's full of.
Yeah, I wish it was all my customers.
Yeah. Tough day, Jack.
Another one?
You know, I thought being retired was going to be a lot easier.
I don't know who told you that.
I don't know. I'm working harder now than I ever did.
Oh, man.
Jackie, I thought you're my private stock.
Got you.
How's business, Jackie, my boy?
Things are good, man. Things are good. How's that rebuild going?
Yeah. Good. Slow, but good. Look at that, huh? Nobody pours a Guinness like you, Jackie.
I love when you say that.
Jack, how long you been here?
Go on, 5 years.
5 years, huh? Now, where were you before that?
I was down on the street, man.
Where was the street?
Wall Street.
Wall Street? You
Yeah,
kidding me?
man. Junk bonds.
You? Suit
Me.
and tie? No
Find
shit.
that hard to believe?
Yeah, I do.
Every day.
What brought you up here?
How do you get out of that zoo? Get up here to the countryside.
Oh, yeah?
Slow things down a little.
You think so, huh?
Yeah, it's catching up with
I don't know about that, Jack. You know, funny thing, the guy before you that owned this joint, his name was Jack, too.
you. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. He was here forever, man. This place is like a staple in the neighborhood, you know? We got a paper, Jack. Here you go. The revitalization of Newburgh. The problem is, Jack, you got to be careful when you're working on these buildings. One wrong move, one mistake, the whole thing could come down. Hey, Jack, look at that. That guy did a hell of a job on that house, huh?
Looking good.
Yeah, they're trying. It's getting better. Yeah, but it takes time. You never have enough help. You never have enough money. It's just a constant struggle, right?
Right.
You just gotta do it, that's all.
Yeah.
You know, the city didn't always look like this.
No?
It was beautiful at one time. Now, don't get me wrong. It's still beautiful. You just can't see it. It's covered up. It's hidden. Graffiti, garbage. Some of the buildings look like shit, you know? But I remember when Newburgh was named the All-American City. Can you imagine that, Jackie? The All-American City, and only 65 miles north of the biggest city in the world, New York City. So if you worked in Manhattan, you could drive an hour and a half up to Paradise, the Hudson Valley. The mountains, the Hudson River, the air, for Christ's sakes. Little break, huh? A break from the jungle, right, Jackie?
That's what we're looking for.
You know, back then, all the buildings were occupied. Men's stores, ladies' stores, hardware stores, liquor stores, restaurants. Everything you find in a big city, you found here. As a matter of fact, they used to call Newburgh Little Manhattan. You know, I remember when I was a little kid, my mother and I used to go down to Water Street. There used to be a statue in the middle of the street there. They had all kinds of stores. They had J.C. Penney's, spoon makers, a 5 and dime. Me and my mother, we used to eat lunch down at the counter at Woolworths. What a view of the river we had. And at that time, Jack, I think lunch cost maybe $2 with a tip for the both of us. You try having that same lunch, Jackie, today with the same river view we had, it'd be $100 or more.
Easy.
But you know what remains the same, Jack?
What's that?
The view, the scenery. We're the ones that change. Nothing else, you know. And Broadway at that time, it was teeming with people. Entertainment, forget about it. We had it all. There were 3 theaters back then. The Ritz, the Broadway, and the Cameo. Now, the only one that's still surviving is the Ritz, and that's hanging by a thread. But boy, the Ritz, what a theater. You ever been in that theater, Jack?
Not me.
Beautiful theater. I've been in there. Yeah, I performed there when I was a kid.
Is that right, you?
Yeah, I was kind of like a song and dance guy.
Get out of it.
Nah, I'm telling you the truth. Would I bullshit you, Jackie? I used to do these shows. They called them minstrel shows. Hard to believe, right? I was a singer. My mother danced in the chorus line. All kinds of acts played there back then. You had juggling acts, comedians, singers, legit singers. Kind of like vaudeville, you know? There was no such thing as DVDs or cable TV back then. As a matter of fact, television was in its infancy. When they did commercials back then, Jack, they were live, mistakes and all. I did a Remco toy commercial one time when I was a little kid. I sang on this show, you know? So I sang on a show, and then as I demonstrated the toy, the host did the voiceover. It was great, really, really great. Our local shows here, they were produced by the Pastime AC Club. I have an uncle, Uncle Bob, who used to help run those shows. You know what? Those guys were regular guys, but they could have been Broadway producers. The shows were tremendous, I'm telling you right now. And we sold everyone out. You know why? Because the people supported the community. They tried to help. The same thing we're trying to get the people to do now. They just don't want to do it.
Right.
When I was singing as a little kid, boy, that's when Broadway was Broadway, Jack. The streets, the buildings, everything was clean. You know why? Because people respected each other, and they respected each other's property. Not like today.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was in the same boat back then. Just like it is now. It was just a different breed of people, I guess. You know, back in the 30s and 40s, all the big acts from all over the country performed here in Newburgh. Yeah, they would perform down here in Newburgh and do like a dry run. Come on a Wednesday, Thursday night, and then they would go into Manhattan on a weekend. If they did good here in Newburgh, Jackie, they knew they would do fantastic in Manhattan.
Wow.
Oh, it was great. All the big stars played. Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett. Hey, here's a little tidbit of information. Did you know that Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz actually created the I Love Lucy show right here in Newburgh?
Right here in Newburgh?
Yeah, absolutely true. You know, Newburgh really started to boom in the late 1800s, the Industrial Revolution. That brought work, money, and growth. The turn of the century, that's when most of the immigrants migrated up from Ellis Island and Manhattan. All kinds of people came here, Jack. The Irish, the Jews, the Italians, the Germans, the Poles, the Russians, everybody. Newburgh was kind of like a catch basin for the melting pot, you know?
Right.
The overflow, you might say. Well, my grandparents on my mother's side, they were Italian. And my grandparents on my father's side, they were Russian. Now, my Italian grandparents, they lived on Washington Street. Now, Jack, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but Washington actually did sleep there. On the corner of Washington Street and Liberty Street, Jack. Come on. Washington's headquarters. I'm not kidding you. Washington really did sleep there.
Get out of here. The guy on the dollar bill?
Yeah. My grandparents on my father's side, well, they were Russian. They lived down at the Gas House. Now, it was called the Gas House because Edward Street was right next to the gas company's property. And down there, they had these big, huge silver balls, like 4 or 5 of them. But Jack, I mean huge, the size of a freaking house. That's where they stored the gas that would service the city. And somewhere along the line, somebody got the bright idea that if somebody went by with a car and flicked a cigarette, Newburgh would wind up on the other side of the river in Beacon. So they got rid of them, you know? That's where the gas house was. My father lived in a cold water flat with his 3 brothers and 1 sister. He was second from the oldest. You know, they were poor people, like most of the people in the turn of the century in the early 1900s. It was a hard life, but nobody complained. They just did what they had to do to survive. There was no such thing as public assistance. It was do or die, no in between. My old man used to steal coal to keep his family warm. He was 8 years old, for God's sakes. Anyway, Edward Street was close to the railroad tracks, right? So he would go down there late at night to the coal car, steal the coal, bring it back to the apartment, and keep his family warm. Well, the first time he got pinched, Jack, he was 8. And by the way, pinched means arrested. So anyway, every time he gets pinched, they ask him his name. So the first time he gets pinched, he gives him a wrong last name. And what do you think he does now? Every time he gets pinched, he gives him a different last name. You know what the problem now is, Jack?
What's that?